China is a really depressed country. People here are not happy. Good day guys, I've been relatively inactive recently. I still publish many shorts, but even that became less frequent. I feel like constantly uploading is very draining and there is an unspoken pressure of always performing. If you really want to take off on social media, you have to be very resourceful. You constantly have to come up with something new, something that no one has done before. And it actually worked quite well for one of my videos on Instagram. It kind of went viral. It's got over 3 million views because it was indeed something that I believe nobody has ever done before. There was me, the white guy speaking German, Russian, and Chinese, and the American guy who looks Indian but speaks flawless Chinese and especially a local dialect, and the Chinese-looking guy who speaks German and fluent English. And then we just confused people on Omi TV, which was super funny. However, I still feel like this kind of content is not appreciated enough. Even if this video went through the roof on Instagram, when I uploaded the full version on YouTube, it only has got like 1,000 views. Like, you put in so many hours of editing and all that stuff, and in the end, the videos, nobody even appreciates them. So instead, I shifted my focus toward immersing into the Chinese culture and just improving my Mandarin, which has been a rewarding yet demanding journey. 在这儿，我觉得顺利说一说我目前的中文水平怎么样。虽然最近我的汉语进步了很大，尤其是我的语速，我觉得越来越快，但是我还是必须谦虚的承认，我的中文不算流利的，绝对不是完美的，还有很多能提高的地方。但是我会再接再厉。但是现在我不想说的很多，因为在未来，其实在接下来的几天，我打算发布另外一个视频。在这个视频里面，我会跟你们分享，就是给你们总结一下，我已经学了中文2年的过程，我的挑战，我的障碍。我最讨厌的地方，帮我最多的提示之类的。But how has it been? I have been in China for 6 months already. The initial 3 months have been an emotional high. It was very novel and exciting, but then reality set in. I fell ill, very ill actually. I remember at the beginning of this year, I was just laying in my bed. It was like half dead and saw the angels coming ready to pick me up. And that was kind of a reality check, like a wake-up call. I realized the challenges of being in China as a foreigner. So in the first time you feel like a tourist, but if you start to realize, wait, I'm actually living here, then loneliness creeps in. And you come to the understanding that integrating into the culture is not just very difficult, but perhaps impossible. I also attend a church here, and even there I struggle to feel accepted. At one stage, I even stopped attending altogether because I just couldn't bear the feeling anymore of feeling like an outcast. It was so painful. However, fortunately, I found myself way back again, partly due to my Chinese skills finally improving. I remember in the beginning, I could only understand like 20% of the sermon. Now I understand most of it already, and I finally can actually talk with them. And have deep conversations. I even have been given the opportunity to share a presentation soon about my world travels with the kids, like Sunday school, because they want to widen their horizon, and I really strongly advocate this kind of attitude and strongly support it. So this really fulfills me, that I can contribute, I can provide value, which is a little step forward. Anyway, back to the summary. Whatever you do, in the beginning, it feels flawless. However, as time passes by, the less glamorous aspects become apparent. And as I've mentioned before, being a foreigner is probably the biggest obstacle. It's kind of a double-edged sword because you have the biggest privileges being a white guy in China, but at the same time, it's the biggest obstacle. It's like blessing and a curse. Still being called foreigner almost every day, especially if I go on a hike and I'm somewhere in the mountains and I'm just by myself, and people just keep staring at me, point their fingers at me, tell even kids like, 妈妈你看一下他是一个美国人 and I'm not even American. And I remember uploading a video, what was it? My first month in China or my first 3 months in China? I don't remember. Anyway, in that video, I mainly complained about being stared at. And to be honest, I still cannot get used to it. This reason is convincing enough for me to never settle down here long term. It's absolutely out of question. Whenever Chinese people ask me, 你想不想在这里定居? So, do you want to settle down here like long term? I always say, 绝对不行, like absolutely not. It's not even debatable, because I feel like every person wants to have a feeling of belonging, and I realize China is just a temporary station. I'm just a guest here, and yet you have that human, I don't know, basic need or that drive that you want to be accepted, which you will never be in China as a foreigner. Now I want to talk about some challenges in communication, and I'm not talking about language barrier, I'm talking about a cultural barrier. Talking with locals often presents challenges because Chinese people, many Chinese people, have a rather constrained way of thinking. And I do not say this to elevate myself above them, but reality is, my worldview is shaped by multilingualism and experiences in diverse cultures. I grew up speaking 2 mother languages, and Germany is extremely multicultural. Then I also lived in other countries, so I have this kind of perspective. It reminds me of a Chinese saying which goes, 当局者迷,旁观者清, which means those on the outside see something clearer than those on the inside. So whenever I talk to somebody who never even left the country, I feel like hitting a wall. And it's something that you cannot leap over this wall, because you cannot really dive deep. People don't have a very wide horizon, and all they talk about are the same topics and over again. You know, if people start talking about food and different cuisines in China, you know something is off, because people just run out of topics. This is just one of the challenges that I'm facing here. Moreover, sometimes even the sheer asking of a question, an innocent question, leads to offense due to the cultural emphasis on saving face. It makes open discussions very difficult. This is an aspect I hate. This whole face culture, even the word for embarrassing in Chinese is 丢脸,丢脸 means losing face. So everybody's pretending to be someone, and people are not very vulnerable, and you cannot really talk on a deep stage from human to human. People avoid uncomfortable truths, and the immense pressure in society is very sensible. Even if you don't partake in a work culture, it affects you and you can feel it. And unfortunately, tragically, suicide rates reflect this burden. This is also something that really makes me down. I hear more and more of suicides, which is obviously not shown in the news, but you hear it in your own circles, that kids in middle school commit suicide because they just collapse from the pressure. China is a really depressed country. People here are not happy. They are not happy. They are only surviving. All they think about is money and materialism. There are even very high standards in dating, which is 有车有房, like he has to have a car and a house. If it's that way, I'm cooked. But seriously, in my 6 months here in China, I never dated somebody, and I probably won't do so, because the cultures are just too different. Especially, they put a high emphasis on family and parents-in-law. It's even common that after marriage they move together with the parents-in-law, which is a complete nightmare. And I don't like this kind of life, where people who are even 25 or 26 still depend on their parents so much. It's just a big cultural difference. In Europe, the focus is on individualism. Here it's more like on the community and on family and stuff. So I know that even if I would meet somebody who is Chinese, there would be too many confrontations. So my ideal partner would be somebody like me, as I pointed out already, somebody who has been around a bit. But I'm really not here with the intention to get married or something. It's maybe just because I compare myself with others, because many foreigners who come to China, they are known for having many girlfriends quickly, just because they are white, but I'm extremely unlucky in this aspect. But it's also because I have super high standards, and I never meet somebody who actually connects with me on an intellectual level. And what I mean by that is that multicultural perspective of life. I just met one person. I was hiking in Huangshan, and then a Chinese girl started talking to me, and she even wanted to grab my WeChat. But before we exchanged WeChat, I lost her in the crowd. I never saw her again for the rest of the day. It was so dumb. But she was also a big time traveler, solo traveler, went to many other countries and loves hiking and stuff. And I was really surprised because I never met a Chinese girl who is into sports. Anyway, I've been trying to find her on Xiaohongshu, but that's another story. Never mind. I have to move on. Let me point it out one more time. The misinterpretation of China by influencers. I hate these influencers who draw a oversimplistic picture of China, pushing the narrative of China is not what the West is saying about it, it's so convenient. Yes, but they totally fail to acknowledge the complexities of living here. Life in China can be exceptional for foreigners, but for the locals, they hate their own lives. And if they could, they would swap with others, with foreigners in an instant. So if you live here and you talk to the locals and you live closely with them, you will feel and you will see that the dissatisfaction runs very deep. Even in my church, when I visit the Bible studies on Friday nights, this is the sentence I hear most often. 压力很大, 压力很大 means the pressure is very high. Anyway, I don't share these struggles to paint a negative picture. I'm just being transparent. No country is perfect. Even less so Germany. I am German, but I can say I hate Germany. Germany has more negative aspects than positive. And just saying that, I don't feel like I'm a traitor or something. I don't have that tribal mindset that if I say something bad about my country, that I stab my fellow countrymen in the back. What's that kind of shit mentality? I'm just an individual and I can say whatever I want. Anyway, despite the difficulties, I still find aspects of life very enjoyable here. Of course, I can't deny that, otherwise I wouldn't have been here for such a long time already. I travel around very often. I can put up some pictures here. I like photography, I always take my camera outside. Yeah, I've been to so many places already. Just alone in December, I went to Taiwan, I went to Beijing, and I went to Wuhan. And then during the Chinese Spring Festival, the Chinese New Year, I celebrated that unique time of the year with some Chinese Christian friends in the north, in Shandong province. That was also very insightful and very inspiring. I just love that kind of feeling of being among Chinese people and learning so many new words and cultural aspects, doing acupuncture for the first time. And feeling like Tom Cruise in the movie The Last Samurai, if you have seen it, where he's living with the local Japanese people and he's asking like, what do you call this? What's the name of that in Japanese? And he's learning their ways and that kind of stuff. This is really, really fulfilling. My primary goal is still improving my Chinese, but I started contemplating what's next. What if I reach that goal? What if my Chinese is as good as my English? And at that stage I would be happy and satisfied. What then? What's next? China isn't my final destination. It's just a temporary chapter. As I said, because I don't really have a reason to stay here. My whole family is back in Germany. Why should I migrate here? It makes like zero sense. Also, when I lived in Australia, many people always assumed I'm planning to get a permanent residency and then get an Australian citizenship. I was like, why the hell would I do that? I'm the only guy living in Australia. I don't have family, I don't have any friends. Why should I do that? I'm just a young guy who travels around and likes to pick up something from here and there, and that's it. Yeah, I don't really have a reason to stay here. Like, no emotional bond, no love, no nothing. I'm single AF. Yeah, it's just a temporary chapter, as I said, and not the final destination. Lately, however, I must admit, it has been very lonely. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in the next video, which will be more focused on my Chinese journey so far. I actually don't want to get too political here because I know I'll be kicked out of the country very quickly. So let's better keep it to the language, to the linguistic aspects. Alright, I'll catch you next time.